But for the climate issue, are the nuclear power plants the better choice for the time being now?
It depends. If we have them already running, I feel that it's a mistake to close them down in order to focus on coal.
All right, guys, so I gotta tell you, I absolutely love when a Republican shows some sort of innovation along with common sense, okay? When they are not just allowing Democrats to get layups. I love it when Republicans take layups because like I tell you guys, Republicans almost never take layups. They always play defense and they just let the Democrats take layups. Most times the Democrats miss, right? So when a Republican actually starts scoring layups, okay, I get excited, right? Because that means that this country is moving in the right direction. Now, in this interview I want to talk about between Jake Tapper and Governor Glenn Youngkin, the Republican governor from Virginia, Jake Tapper tries to score on Glenn Youngkin, but Glenn Youngkin steals the ball and goes and takes a layup, right, on Jake Tapper, which is exactly what happened in this interview when Jake Tapper tried to mischaracterize Glenn Youngkin's climate plan as not moving towards renewable energy or trying to, I guess, roll back, moving towards its woke climate goals that they established under the Democrats. However, Glenn Youngkin has the perfect rebuttal in response to Jake Tapper in regards to what his energy plan is actually about. And this is exactly what Republicans should be saying on this issue. This is exactly the type of solutions we need to be pushing, and it is the answer to the Democrats' woke climate agenda. Take a look.
Plan, because you just released it this week, it scales back Virginia's wind and solar energy emphasis. Instead, focuses on nuclear power, economic competition. But I wonder if the events in your first year as governor, the more intense hurricanes, which scientists say they're more intense because of climate change, the war in Ukraine, and this week's OPEC decision, making the insecurity of where we get our fuel from highlighted. Doesn't that suggest that we should be leaning into more green energy, not less?
Well, to be clear, what I've called for is an all of the above. And in fact, it's not reducing an emphasis on renewables, wind and solar. It's correcting an error that was made in the previous administration's energy plan, which was to exclude everything else. And so we need to, yes, move forward with wind and solar. We need to move forward with carbon capture and natural gas. We need to move forward with nuclear. And one of the things that I believe is that we have a great opportunity in Virginia to lead the nation in the development of small modular reactors in nuclear in order to provide baseload power that's clean and reliable and affordable. And this is why common sense has to come back into this equation, which is we can't evacuate one of our strengths, which is the fact that we innovate in America. Mm-hmm. And we can, in fact, find a way that natural gas can continue to be a huge part of our overall power stack. We can innovate across nuclear, and we can embrace renewables like wind and solar. But we're going to have to adopt all of them in order to get where we want to be, which is reliable, affordable, and a clean power stack.
Yeah, so that was an excellent answer from Glenn Youngkin, okay? As Jake Tapper tried to frame the question in a way that is misleading about Glenn Youngkin's plan and what he's ultimately trying to do. Because again, these people, for whatever reason, they believe that the only solutions to reducing emissions from an energy perspective, it has to be solar or wind. If it's not solar or wind, then it's not clean energy, according to these people, right? The climate cultists. When the reality is that Glenn Youngkin is actually 100% correct on this issue in the sense that we need to focus more on nuclear, which already provides 20% of the electricity generated in this country. It has one of the lowest carbon footprints, almost no emissions, it's reliable and efficient, and it just makes sense to, at the very least, rely on it until the technology for the other solutions that the Democrats praise and worship at the altar, solar and wind, the technology actually is there to be able to provide a baseline level of power to sustain civilization, which as of right now, solar and wind together cannot provide enough baseline energy for us as a society. It cannot do it. The technology is simply not there. However, the Democrats in their woke climate agenda, they want to force this down your throat. They want to force it down your throat despite the fact that we're just not there yet, right? Again, so they want to ruin society, send us back to the Stone Ages, when we have solutions. Okay? In my opinion, if the climate cultists were actually serious, right? If they were very serious and they actually had common sense, they'll be focusing on nuclear, natural gas, and hydroelectric power. Okay? That is what they will be focused on. Those are your solutions. Okay? Until solar and wind pick up. But we can't come off fossil fuels, right? We can't drop fossil fuels. We got to keep relying on fossil fuels. And we got to rely on other things. We got to have a combination of everything to sustain us, right? That's just how it's supposed to work. Let the competition, let the market guide us, right? That makes sense. Again, that is a governor. That is a politician that knows what he's talking about. He knows how to get answers. He has an agenda. He has a plan, and it makes sense. It's based on common sense. It's based on facts and actual science. You will never hear a succinct answer to a question like that from a Democrat politician, especially the ones in the White House, right? Like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Okay, you're gonna get word salad, mental gymnastics. No word salad, no mental gymnastics. Like, no, this is my plan. We're gonna focus on nuclear. We're gonna do a little bit of everything. We're gonna let the market lead. We're gonna use common sense. Again, something that Jake Tapper doesn't hear too much on that network because they really have Republicans on. And speaking of common sense, Glenn Youngkin also sets Jake Tapper straight on the bathroom conversation. Take a look.
Let's talk to one of the key issues that helped get you elected, education, because you have this new policy for transgender students in Virginia that requires that a student's bathrooms and sports teams should be based on that student's sex assigned at birth, not how their gender identity. Now, your policy's first two key guiding principles are, quote, parents have the right to make decisions with respect to their children, and, quote, schools shall respect parents' values and beliefs. But I don't understand how a one-size-fits-all ruling for all of Virginia follows those guidelines of parents have the right to make decisions and schools shall respect parents. Because I imagine in a school in rural Southwest Virginia, they might look at this issue quite differently than across the river in Arlington.
Let me begin with these basic principles, which is first, parents have a fundamental right to be engaged in their children's lives. And oh, by the way, children have a right to have parents engaged in their life. And we needed to fix a wrong. The previous administration had a policy that excluded parents and, in fact, particularly didn't require the involvement of parents. And I mean, let's be clear. Parents have this right, and children don't belong to the state. They belong to families. And so in these most important decisions, step one has to be to engage parents, not to the exclusion of a trusted teacher or an advisor, but to make sure that parents are involved in their children's lives. This is not controversial. And I just think the idea that we're going to have policies that exclude parents from their children's lives is something that I have been going to work on since day one. We campaigned on it. We empowered parents to make decisions with regards to masking in Virginia. We've empowered parents to make decisions with regards to curriculum that fits their family's decisions. And we're empowering parents here to be engaged in these most important decisions.
But Governor, this policy could be seen, I could see very easily how it excludes parents. Look, here's a question for you. The American Academy of Pediatrics says these kinds of laws about bathrooms and excluding people, ignoring their gender identity. They say, the American Academy of Pediatrics says these kind of laws can increase the risk of depression, anxiety, and even suicide among transgender youth. Did you talk to any transgender youth when coming up with this policy?
Yes, so we've had lots of interactions across the administration. And let me just back up. What we're not saying is that there's no accommodation. What we're saying is parents have to be engaged in that decision. And if a child and their parent, along with administrators and teachers, choose to have accommodations for that child, they'll be granted. And see, this is where I constantly get back to, I would ask people to read the policies. And I
did read the policy, but it sounds like you're excluding parents that might be supportive of their child going to the bathroom or joining a sports team that is in alignment with their gender identity.
Well, certainly not. If parents actually want their child to be able to change a pronoun or their name or use a bathroom, if parents choose that, then legally, that's what the schools will do. With regards to sports teams, this is a different issue. And I do believe that it's unfair for girls to have biological boys play sports with biological girls. There are sports with segregated sexes for those sports, and those sports should be honored that way. And there are sports where they're not segregated, where in fact both sexes get to play at the same time. Again, there's a common sense approach here to this, and I do think we have to respect girls as well here. Our policies were written in order to respect the dignity of all children, their safety, and their confidentiality. We're in a 30-day comment period, and then we're going to finalize these, and then I expect the school districts to adopt something consistent with them.
Once again, common sense. We're going to provide reasonable accommodations, right? If your child wants to be transgender, right, hey, we will provide accommodations. But what we're not going to do is in the main bathrooms, we're not going to have boys and girls, using the same bathrooms. We're not going to have gender-neutral bathrooms, the big bathrooms that people use. Again, if you want to use a bathroom that is gender-neutral, okay, great. We will send you to, the one toilet bathroom that teachers use, the faculty and staff use. We'll make special accommodations. That is common sense. But no. Jake Tapper, though, what he wants is that he wants to go against the will of the parents, because this guy pretends like, oh, you're not really putting the decision in the parents' hands. You're not letting the parents decide when you decide to ban it. Okay, when you decide to ban little boys being in little girls' bathroom, you're not actually letting parents decide. And I'm like, Jake, I know you're in the DC bubble, okay? I understand you're surrounded by wokeness all day, but a majority of parents do not agree with the woke gender agenda, right? They don't agree with their little girls being able to use bathrooms with little boys. They don't agree with that. They don't agree with castrating children. They don't agree with this stuff, okay? And just in case you didn't know, most parents disagree with this. So he is doing the will of the people. He is giving the parents a say when he is telling them that, listen, we're not going to have gender neutral restrooms that boys and girls can use together. We're just not going to do that. They're also not going to be on the same athletic teams that are traditionally separated by biological sex. We're not going to do that. Right? That's what he's saying. And that is actually in line with what the parents want. What's not in line with what the parents want is what they were doing before, which is trying to appease a minority of parents and their children, right? By forcing little girls to share bathrooms with little boys, a majority of whom I'm pretty sure are uncomfortable. Again, these people, the Democrats, they forget how unpopular their agenda is, right? You're not in the majority on this issue at all. You're not even close. I'm sorry to tell you, Jake, you guys know this. Glenn Youngkin, Ron DeSantis, some of these younger Republicans, again, they tend to be the most impressive in regards to how they articulate ideas and how they present solutions. If these are the leaders of the Republican Party going forward into the future, I'm talking about 10, 15 years, I'm talking about after Trump steps aside, which will eventually happen sooner rather than later, but it will happen, right? There's a bright future, right? I'm excited because we do need a party of innovators, right? People who are forward thinkers, who have common sense solutions to modern problems so that we don't lose the battle of ideas with the Democrats who present bad ideas because the Republicans don't bring any ideas to the table, right? That's a bad way to lose the battle of ideas. I love seeing actual solutions put forward in which you're not, again, just letting the Democrats dominate the conversation in the battle ideas with their bad ideas that are going to lead this country down the wrong path. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.